The rain hammered against the glass doors of Sterling. Tower as Marcus wiped his weathered hands on his delivery uniform, leaving the expensive lobby for what he thought would be the last time. His daughter Emma sat on the marble bench where he'd left her, her small fingers tracing patterns on a chess piece she'd found abandoned near the reception desk. She didn't know yet that this building represented everything her father had worked toward and everything he was about to lose. Marcus had been making deliveries to Sterling Industries for 3 years, always through the service entrance, always invisible. But today was different. Today, his supervisor had sent him through the main lobby during the CEO's charity chess exhibition, a spectacle where wealthy donors paid thousands to challenge Richard Sterling himself. And today, Emma had come along because her school was closed and Marcus couldn't afford childcare. He never imagined that his 8-year-old daughter, clutching her second-hand backpack and worn sneakers, would change everything. The morning had started like any other brutal day in Marcus's life. His alarm screamed at 4 in the morning, pulling him from dreams where bills paid themselves and Emma had new shoes that actually fit. He stumbled through their tiny apartment, careful not to wake his daughter, heating up the oatmeal that would be both their breakfasts. The electricity bill sat on the counter, red and threatening, next to the notice from Emma's school about the chess club she'd begged to join, but he couldn't afford. Emma loved chess with a passion that both broke and mended Marcus's heart. She'd learned from watching videos at the public library, studying games on their neighbor's old laptop when Mrs. Chen let her visit. She played against herself using a set Marcus had found at a thrift store, half the pieces missing, replaced with buttons and bottle caps. Despite having no formal training, no coach, no advantages, Emma devoured the game like it held answers to questions she didn't yet know how to ask. "Dad, can I come with you today?" Emma had asked that morning, her dark eyes hopeful. "There's no school, and Mrs. Chen has her doctor's appointment." Marcus had hesitated, knowing his supervisor hated when drivers brought distractions. But what choice did he have? "You'll have to be very quiet, baby, and stay exactly where I put you. Promise?" "I promise." She'd crossed her heart with such solemnity that Marcus had to smile despite the weight crushing his chest. The delivery to Sterling Industries was supposed to be simple. Drop off the packages, get the signature, leave. But the main entrance was blocked for the charity event, forcing Marcus through the lobby, where Manhattan's elite gathered in their $1,000 suits and diamond earrings, sipping champagne at 10 in the morning. He'd settled Emma on a bench with strict instructions not to move, then rushed to complete his delivery. That's when Richard Sterling emerged from the elevator. At 62, he commanded attention without demanding it. His silver hair perfectly styled, his custom suit probably worth more than Marcus earned in 6 months. He walked toward the exhibition area, where a magnificent chess set waited, its pieces carved from marble and obsidian, each one a work of art. "Ladies and gentlemen," Sterling's assistant announced, "Mr. Sterling will now take on any challenger. As you know, all proceeds go to the Children's Education Fund. Who will be first?" Several people stepped forward, their confidence boosted by alcohol and ego. One by one, Sterling dispatched them with ruthless efficiency, his moves precise and devastating. He wasn't just playing chess. He was performing surgery, each game ending in under 20 minutes. Marcus had collected his signature and was heading back to Emma when he heard his daughter's voice cut through the crowd. "Excuse me, sir? Your queen is in trouble." The lobby went silent. Marcus's heart stopped. Emma had wandered from the bench and now stood at the edge of the chess exhibition, her small frame dwarfed by the adults around her. She was looking at the current game, where a nervous young executive was sweating through his expensive shirt, clearly out of his depth against Sterling. "I beg your pardon." Sterling turned, his eyebrows raised at this interruption from a child in thrift store clothes. "Your queen," Emma repeated, pointing at the board with a confidence that terrified Marcus. "If you move her there, his knight will trap her in 3 moves. But if you move your bishop instead," she traced an invisible path across the board, "you can win in 2. The executive looked offended. Sterling's assistant moved to usher Emma away. But Sterling himself held up his hand, his eyes narrowing as he studied the board. After a long moment, he moved his bishop exactly as Emma had suggested. 2 moves later, the game was over. "Remarkable," Sterling murmured, looking at Emma with something approaching interest. "Who taught you to see that?" "Nobody taught me," Emma said simply. "I just see it, like a story that hasn't been told yet." Marcus finally found his voice. "Emma, I'm so sorry, sir." She didn't mean to interrupt. "We're leaving right now." But Sterling raised his hand again, silencing him. "What's your name, young lady?" "Emma Martinez. I'm 8 3/4. Emma Martinez." Sterling seemed to taste the name. "Tell me, Emma, who is 8 3/4, can you solve a puzzle?" He gestured to his assistant, who quickly reset the board into a complex position. Pieces scattered in what looked like chaos. "This is a puzzle created by a Russian grandmaster in 1947. I've had it on my wall for 20 years. Can you tell me how white wins?" The crowd pressed closer, some looking amused, others annoyed at this distraction. Marcus wanted to grab Emma and run, but his feet wouldn't move. His daughter stepped closer to the board, her head tilting as she studied the pieces. 30 seconds passed, then a minute. Marcus could hear his own heartbeat, could feel the sweat trickling down his spine despite the air conditioning. Emma's fingers hovered over the board, not touching, just tracing possibilities in the air. "It's a sacrifice," she finally said, her voice quiet but clear. "White has to give up everything to win. The queen goes first here. Then the rook. It looks like losing, but it's actually winning. You have to trust that losing something precious now means gaining something better later." She proceeded to call out a sequence of moves, each one seemingly disastrous, each one giving away material to black. The crowd murmured, some laughing at the child's apparent foolishness. But Sterling's face had gone pale. His assistant was frantically checking the solution on his phone, his eyes growing wider with each of Emma's moves. "She's right," the assistant whispered. "Every single move. Checkmate in 11. The lobby erupted. Some people applauded, others looked confused. A few seemed angry that a child in cheap clothes had just demonstrated genius level chess ability. But Sterling just stared at Emma, his expression unreadable. "Impossible," someone muttered. "She must have seen it before." "I haven't," Emma said, looking hurt. "I just thought about what the pieces were trying to tell me." Sterling crouched down to Emma's level, an action Marcus had never seen him perform in 3 years of deliveries. "How did you learn to play chess, Emma?" "From books at the library, and videos, and practicing with Dad when he's not too tired." She glanced at Marcus with such pure love that he felt his eyes burn. "He works really hard so we can have a home." "I see." Sterling stood, brushing invisible dust from his pants, then turned to Marcus for the first time. "You're her father?" "Yes, sir." "I'm so sorry for the interruption. I was just leaving." "Don't apologize." Sterling's voice was sharp. "How long have you been making deliveries to this building?" 3 years, sir." 3 years. Sterling seemed to be doing mental calculations. "And in 3 years, you've never mentioned that your daughter is a chess prodigy." Marcus almost laughed at the absurdity of the question. When would he have mentioned it? While getting signatures? While riding the service elevator? To Sterling, Marcus was invisible, just another uniform moving packages from point A to point B. "I didn't think it would matter, sir." Something flickered across Sterling's face, an emotion Marcus couldn't identify. Shame, maybe, or recognition. "It matters," he said quietly. Then louder, "It matters very much." He turned to address the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to make an announcement. This charity event was meant to raise funds for the Children's Education Fund, a cause I've supported for 30 years because I believe every child deserves access to opportunities, regardless of their circumstances." He paused, his hand resting gently on Emma's shoulder. "I've just met a child who embodies everything that FUND stands for. Emma Martinez has demonstrated more chess talent in 5 minutes than I've seen in 40 years of playing. And she's done it without advantages, without private coaches, without anything except her own brilliant mind and her father's love." The crowd had gone completely silent. Marcus felt like he was watching this happen to someone else, like he'd slipped into a parallel universe. "I'm establishing a new scholarship today," Sterling continued. The Emma Martinez Scholarship for Exceptional Young Minds. It will provide full funding for education, including chess training, for children who demonstrate extraordinary ability but lack resources. And Emma will be its first recipient. The applause was thunderous, but Marcus barely heard it over the ringing in his ears. Emma was looking up at him, her eyes wide with confusion and hope. He wanted to cry, to shout, to grab his daughter and dance through the marble lobby. Instead, he managed to whisper, "Is this real?" Sterling extended his hand to Marcus, a gesture of equals, not employer to service worker. "It's real. Your daughter has a gift that deserves to be nurtured. But more than that, you've clearly given her something more valuable than any chess lesson. The belief that she matters, that her mind matters, that she can look at any puzzle and find the solution." As they shook hands, Marcus saw something shift in Sterling's eyes, a crack in the armor of wealth and power. Later, he would learn that Sterling had once been poor himself, that he'd worked his way through college making deliveries just like Marcus, that he'd almost given up a dozen times before success found him, but he'd forgotten somewhere along the way what it meant to struggle. Emma had reminded him. The scholarship changed everything. Emma got the chess training, the education, the opportunities. But the story that spread across social media and news outlets wasn't just about a chess prodigy. It was about a father who showed up every day, who chose love over despair, who made oatmeal at 4 in the morning and found chess sets at thrift stores. It was about a CEO who remembered his humanity. It was about a system that usually ignores people like Marcus and Emma, but sometimes, just sometimes, sees them. 5 years later, Emma would compete in her first international chess tournament. Marcus would be in the front row, no longer wearing a delivery uniform but a suit that Sterling had insisted on buying him for his new position. Managing Sterling Industries' charitable foundation. Emma would win that tournament, but afterward she would tell reporters that the real victory happened in a marble lobby, when she was 8 3/4, when she learned that being seen was its own kind of checkmate. Because sometimes the most profound victories come not from material gain but from recognition. From the moment when someone powerful chooses to use that power for good, when a father's quiet sacrifice is finally acknowledged, when a child's brilliance breaks. Through the walls we build between classes and circumstances. Emma solved a chess puzzle that day, but she also solved something bigger. The puzzle of how one moment of visibility can change everything, how kindness ripples outward, how love finds a way to win even when the odds seem impossible. The rain had stopped by the time Marcus and Emma left Sterling Tower that day. The city seemed different, brighter somehow, full of possibilities that hadn't existed an hour before. Emma held her father's hand, her other hand clutching a business card with Sterling's personal number. Her future suddenly as bright and precious as those marble chess pieces she'd studied with such intensity. "Dad?" she asked as they walked toward the subway. "Did that really just happen?" Marcus squeezed her hand, his heart so full he could barely speak. "Yeah, baby, it really did." And somewhere in Sterling Tower, Richard Sterling stood at his window watching them go, remembering what it meant to be human, grateful that a small girl with a brilliant mind had reminded him that the most important puzzles aren't on chessboards. They're in choosing every day to see people, to act with compassion, to sacrifice comfort for connection. Emma had taught him that losing something precious now means gaining something better later. That's the puzzle we all face, and love always is the solution.